In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where stars shimmered like diamonds against the velvet blackness of space, an unexpected encounter was about to unfold. Lieutenant Ryan Caldwell, a decorated soldier from Earth's Interstellar Defense Force, found himself stranded on the lush planet of Lysera, 7 after his reconnaissance mission went awry. The vibrant flora glowed softly under twin suns, and the air carried a faintly sweet aroma that reminded him of wildflowers back home. But what truly set this world apart wasn't its beauty, it was its inhabitants. The Lyserans were an advanced species with translucent skin that shimmered in hues of blue and violet, their elongated limbs giving them an almost ethereal grace. Among them stood Princess Aelira, the crown jewel of her people. Her hair cascaded down her back in silvery waves, catching the light like liquid moonlight, while her eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. She had always been fascinated by stories of other worlds, particularly Earth, which she viewed as a mysterious yet intriguing place filled with untapped potential. When Aelira first laid eyes on Ryan, it was during one of her routine inspections of the outskirts of their capital city. There he was, crouched behind a cluster of luminescent shrubs, trying to repair his damaged communicator. His rugged appearance, dusty armor, tousled brown hair, and weary but determined expression stood out starkly against the serene landscape around him. To her, he seemed like something out of legend, brave, resourceful, and utterly alone. Unbeknownst to Ryan, word had spread quickly among the Lyserans about the human who had crash-landed near their sacred grove. Many whispered that he might be dangerous, a harbinger of conflict between their worlds. Yet Aelira saw none of that when she approached him cautiously, her delicate hands raised in a gesture of peace. Instead, she saw someone lost, someone far from everything familiar, and perhaps even someone worthy of trust. Ryan froze as Aelira stepped into view, her presence both commanding and gentle. He had no idea how much trouble, or opportunity, this meeting would bring. For now, all he could do was stare at the radiant being before him, unsure whether to feel relieved or terrified. Little did either of them know, this chance encounter would set off a chain of events neither could have anticipated. As days turned into weeks, Ryan found himself adapting to life among the Lyserans, thanks largely to Aelira's kindness and insistence that he remain under her protection. At first, their interactions were formal, tinged with mutual caution. Aelira would visit him daily, bringing food and supplies, while Ryan worked tirelessly to repair his ship's communication array. Yet over time, those brief exchanges grew into longer conversations, each one revealing more about the other's world. Aelira marveled at Ryan's tales of Earth, the bustling cities, the diversity of cultures, the way humans fought so fiercely for survival despite their planet's fragility. In turn, Ryan listened intently as she described Lysera 7's unique ecosystem, its symbiotic relationship with technology, and the deep spiritual connection her people shared with their environment. They laughed together when misunderstandings arose. Once, Ryan mistook a Lyseran greeting ritual for an aggressive stance, causing Aelira to dissolve into giggles as she mimicked his startled reaction. Their bond deepened further during moments of quiet reflection. One evening, as they sat beneath the glowing canopy of bioluminescent trees, Aelira confessed her dreams of exploring beyond Lysera 7's borders. "Our skies are beautiful," she said wistfully, "but I long to see what lies beyond them. Your stories make me ache for adventure." Ryan smiled softly, sensing the yearning in her voice. "Someday, maybe you'll get your chance," he replied, though part of him wondered if such a future was possible given the fragile state of intergalactic relations. It was during these intimate moments that Aelira began to harbor feelings she hadn't expected. Ryan's resilience, humor, and unwavering sense of duty stirred something within her, a longing not just for exploration but for companionship. To her, he represented freedom, courage, and a kind of love she'd read about in ancient texts but never experienced firsthand. And so, fueled by youthful optimism and the belief that fate had brought them together, she decided to take a bold step. One afternoon, as they strolled through the crystalline gardens surrounding the royal palace, Aelira stopped abruptly, her shimmering form radiating nervous energy. Turning to face Ryan, she clasped her hands together and spoke with a mixture of determination and vulnerability. "Ryan Caldwell," she began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest, "you have shown me kindness and shared your heart without reservation. You are unlike anyone I have ever known, and I find myself drawn to you in ways I cannot explain." Ryan blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift in tone. Before he could respond, Aelira continued, her words tumbling out like a waterfall. "I wish to ask, if you would consider becoming my consort. Together, we could forge a new path, not just for us, but for our peoples. Imagine the unity we could inspire, the bridges we could build." Her eyes sparkled with hope, imagining a future where their union symbolized peace and understanding across galaxies. For a moment, Ryan stood frozen, processing her words. Then reality crashed down on him like a tidal wave. "Alira," he said gently, his voice laced with regret, "there's something I need to tell you." Taking a deep breath, he revealed the truth. He was married. Back on Earth, waiting for him, was his wife, Elena, a woman he loved deeply and whose absence weighed heavily on his heart every day. Alira's expression crumbled instantly. Tears welled up in her luminous eyes, spilling down her cheeks in shimmering trails. "Married?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "How could you let me believe?" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. The weight of her embarrassment and heartbreak hit her like a meteor strike. Here she was, a princess of Lysera 7, having poured her soul into a proposal only to discover it was built on a foundation of misunderstanding. Ryan reached out instinctively, wanting to comfort her, but she recoiled, wrapping her arms around herself as if shielding her heart from further pain. I truly believed, you were unattached," she stammered, her voice breaking. "Was I so foolish to think someone like you could ever choose someone like me?" Her anguish was palpable, and Ryan felt a pang of guilt twist in his gut. "I'm sorry," he said earnestly, stepping closer despite her withdrawal. "I should have clarified sooner. I didn't mean to give you the wrong impression. It's just, being here talking to you, I forgot for a moment how different our worlds are." His words, though sincere, offered little solace to Alira, who sank to her knees amidst the glowing flowers, sobbing quietly. Ryan knelt beside her, unsure of what else to say. For all his training as a soldier, nothing had prepared him for this. How to console an alien princess whose heart he had inadvertently shattered. As the suns dipped below the horizon, casting the garden in soft twilight hues, the air between them grew heavy with unspoken emotions. Somewhere deep inside, Ryan knew this wasn't the end of their story. But for now, it felt like the beginning of something far more complicated than either of them had bargained for. As the initial shock of Alira's tears began to subside, Ryan realized he needed to act quickly. The last thing he wanted was for this misunderstanding to spiral into a diplomatic incident or, worse, jeopardize the fragile peace between their species. Drawing upon his military training, he formulated a plan, one that would require careful timing, precise execution, and a healthy dose of creativity. First, he gently helped Alira to her feet, guiding her toward a nearby bench carved from iridescent crystal. The cool surface seemed to soothe her slightly as she wiped away her tears with trembling hands. Ryan took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Alira," he began, his voice steady yet warm, "I understand why you're upset, and I truly am sorry. But there's something important I need to share with you, something that might change how you're feeling right now." Her tear-streaked face turned toward him, curiosity mingling with her lingering sadness. "What could possibly change this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan hesitated for a moment, then leaned in closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "You see, while I am technically married on Earth, my situation is complicated." He paused, gauging her reaction before continuing. "Elena and I have been separated for some time now. Our marriage has been strained by years of distance and differing paths. I stayed because of duty and obligation, not because of love." Alira's eyes widened slightly, her interest piqued despite her emotional turmoil. Sensing he had her attention, Ryan pressed on. "But here's the real secret. I've been working on a special project with the Interstellar Defense Force. It involves establishing stronger alliances with advanced civilizations like yours. If things go according to plan, I might be able to request a permanent transfer to Lysera 7. He watched as hope flickered in her gaze, replacing some of the earlier despair. To further demonstrate his sincerity, Ryan pulled out a small holographic device from his utility belt. With a few taps, he projected images of Earth's most breathtaking landscapes alongside schematics of proposed cultural exchange programs. "These are just ideas for now," he explained, "but with your help, we could turn them into reality. Together, we could create something extraordinary, not just for us, but for both our peoples. Elira studied the projections intently, her mind racing with possibilities. While still processing her emotions, she couldn't deny the excitement building within her at the prospect of collaborating on such ambitious projects. Ryan, seeing her interest grow, seized the opportunity to introduce another element to his plan. "There's one more thing," he added, his tone turning playful. "If we work together on this initiative, I promise to teach you everything I know about Earth's customs, including our most entertaining traditions. Have you ever heard of something called karaoke?" The mention of an unfamiliar concept sparked genuine laughter from Elira, the sound like tinkling bells in the evening air. For the first time since her emotional breakdown, a genuine smile graced her features. Ryan joined in her laughter, grateful to see her spirits lifting. As they sat together, discussing potential plans and sharing lighter moments, he realized that perhaps this unexpected complication might lead to something even more meaningful than either of them had initially imagined. Though Elira's laughter brought a welcome reprieve from the tension, Ryan knew they were far from resolving the complexities of their situation. The weight of his revelation hung heavy in the air, mingling with the fading glow of the twin suns. As they sat together on the crystal bench, Elira's emotions swung unpredictably. Moments of hope clashed with lingering doubt, creating an uneasy dance within her. Ryan, too, wrestled with conflicting feelings, torn between his loyalty to Elena and the undeniable pull he felt toward the alien princess. "You speak of possibilities," Elira said finally, her voice softer now, tinged with both curiosity and caution. "But how can I trust that your words will become actions? Humans are known for their promises, yet their intentions often falter under pressure." Her piercing gaze locked onto his, searching for sincerity in his expression. Ryan nodded, acknowledging the truth in her statement. "That's fair," he admitted. "And I won't pretend it'll be easy. My superiors on Earth won't simply let me walk away from my duties, not without proof that this alliance is worth pursuing. But if you're willing to help me prove it, we might have a chance." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "You mentioned before that you want to explore beyond Lysera 7. What if I told you we could start by bridging the gap between our worlds right here, right now?" Elira tilted her head, intrigued but guarded. "And how would we do that?" she asked, her tone skeptical yet tinged with cautious optimism. Ryan leaned forward, his eyes alight with determination. "By showing them and ourselves that cooperation isn't just possible, it's necessary. We can begin by organizing a cultural exchange event, inviting leaders from both sides to witness what we're capable of achieving together. If we succeed, it could pave the way for more permanent changes, not just for me, but for everyone." The idea sparked a flicker of excitement in Elira's eyes, though shadows of uncertainty still lingered. "It sounds ambitious," she murmured, her fingers tracing patterns on the bench's smooth surface. "But ambition alone won't mend the hurt I feel. Even if you manage to stay here, how do I know your heart will truly belong to me?" Ryan sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I can't promise you anything absolute," he said honestly. "All I can offer is honesty moving forward. Yes, there's history with Elena, but it's not the same love you deserve, one built on presence, not absence. If you're willing to take this journey with me, I'll give everything I have to make it work." His words seemed to resonate with her, though not enough to erase all doubt. Elira rose from the bench, pacing slowly as she processed the enormity of what he was proposing. "You ask much of me, Ryan Caldwell," she said after a long silence. "To believe in something uncertain, to risk my heart again. It's not an easy choice." "No one's asking you to decide tonight," Ryan replied gently, standing to join her. "Just think about it. Let's focus on the immediate steps, starting with that cultural exchange. If nothing else, it'll give us both clarity about where we stand." Elira stopped pacing, turning to face him with a mix of resolve and vulnerability. "Very well," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor beneath. "We'll proceed with your plan. But know this, if I discover you're merely stringing me along, there will be consequences. My trust is not easily earned, nor is it infinite." Ryan nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of her warning. "Understood. And thank you, for listening, for considering, and for believing in the possibility of something greater." As they stood there under the dimming sky, surrounded by the hum of glowing plants and distant calls of nocturnal creatures, a tentative truce formed between them. It wasn't forgiveness, nor was it full acceptance, but it was a start, a fragile thread connecting two vastly different beings bound by circumstance and emotion. Yet even as they agreed to move forward, neither could ignore the challenges ahead. Bridging worlds required more than clever plans and heartfelt speeches. It demanded sacrifice, compromise, and faith in the unknown. Little did they realize that their efforts would soon attract attention far beyond their control, threatening to unravel everything they hoped to build. News of Ryan and Elira's budding alliance traveled faster than either of them anticipated. Within days, whispers of their collaboration spread throughout Lysera 7, reaching ears both sympathetic and hostile. While many citizens admired Elira's vision of unity, others viewed the human soldier with suspicion, seeing him as a potential threat to their sovereignty. Among these detractors stood General Valen, a towering figure in Lyseran military command whose distrust of outsiders bordered on paranoia. Valen had always been wary of Earth's growing influence in the galaxy, believing that humanity's expansionist tendencies posed a danger to peaceful civilizations like Lysera 7. When reports reached him of Elira's involvement with Ryan, his suspicions deepened. To him, the idea of a human ingratiating himself with the royal family reeked of manipulation and ulterior motives. Determined to protect his people, Valen began assembling evidence to discredit Ryan, enlisting loyal operatives to monitor their activities closely. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ryan's prolonged absence triggered alarms within the Interstellar Defense Force. Commanders grew increasingly concerned about the implications of his extended stay on Lysera 7, particularly given the planet's strategic importance in galactic politics. Colonel Harlow, Ryan's direct superior, dispatched a team led by Captain Daxton, a cunning and ambitious officer known for his ruthless efficiency, to investigate the situation firsthand. Their orders were clear: assess Ryan's status, evaluate any potential risks to Earth's interests, and neutralize threats if necessary. Unaware of the storm brewing around them, Ryan and Elira threw themselves into preparations for their cultural exchange event. Working side by side, they coordinated logistics, curated displays showcasing each other's cultures, and drafted invitations for key figures from both worlds. Despite the looming challenges, their partnership flourished, fueled by shared goals and mutual respect. Yet cracks began to show as external pressures mounted. One evening, while reviewing plans in Elira's private chambers, Ryan noticed her distracted demeanor. "Is something wrong?" he asked, setting aside the holographic tablet they'd been studying. Elira hesitated before responding, her usually radiant presence dimmed by worry. "I received word today," she confessed, her voice low. "General Valen has called for an emergency council meeting to discuss your presence here. He claims your intentions are suspicious and that you pose a risk to our security." Ryan frowned, concern etching lines across his face. "That complicates things," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. "But we can handle it. If we present our plans clearly and demonstrate the benefits of cooperation, maybe we can sway the council." Before Elira could respond, an urgent alert blared through the chamber, startling them both. A holographic message materialized above the table, bearing the insignia of the Interstellar Defense Force. "Lieutenant Caldwell," boomed a stern voice, "you are hereby ordered to report to the designated rendezvous point immediately. Failure to comply will result in disciplinary action." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving an oppressive silence in its wake. Elira turned to Ryan, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. "They're coming for you," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath. "What will you do?" Ryan clenched his fists, torn between duty and desire. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I won't let them tear us apart without a fight." As tensions escalated, the stage was set for a confrontation that would test not only their resolve but also the fragile bonds they had worked so hard to forge. With enemies closing in from all sides, Ryan and Elira faced a pivotal moment that would determine the fate of their alliance, and perhaps the future of their worlds. In the days leading up to the council meeting, Ryan and Elira scrambled to fortify their position, knowing full well that the outcome would shape not only their personal destinies but also the trajectory of intergalactic relations. Ryan spent hours poring over data, crafting presentations that highlighted the potential benefits of their proposed cultural exchange. He emphasized economic opportunities, technological advancements, and the strengthening of diplomatic ties, all framed within the context of mutual respect and collaboration. Meanwhile, Elira leveraged her influence as a princess, rallying support among Lysera VII's progressive factions who believed in the promise of unity. Yet despite their meticulous preparations, both knew the odds were stacked against them. General Valen had already swayed several council members with inflammatory rhetoric, painting Ryan as a manipulative outsider seeking to exploit Lysera VII's resources. His arguments struck a chord with those who harbored deep-seated fears about humanity's expansionist tendencies. Compounding matters was the impending arrival of Captain Daxton and his team, whose objectives remained shrouded in mystery but likely aligned with Earth's vested interests rather than genuine cooperation. The morning of the council meeting dawned tense and electric. As Ryan and Elira entered the grand hall, an opulent chamber adorned with crystalline pillars and floating orbs of light, they were met with a sea of skeptical faces. Elira took her place at the head of the assembly, her regal bearing masking the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. Ryan stood beside her, clad in polished armor that gleamed under the ambient glow, his posture resolute despite the weight of scrutiny pressing down on him. General Valen wasted no time launching his attack. Rising from his seat, he addressed the council in a booming voice laden with accusation. "Esteemed councilors, we gather today to address a matter of grave concern, the presence of Earth's Lieutenant Caldwell among us. This individual has insinuated himself into our society under false pretenses, exploiting our hospitality while concealing ulterior motives. His supposed cultural exchange is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to infiltrate our world and undermine our autonomy." Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some nodding in agreement while others exchanged uneasy glances. Ryan stepped forward, his voice cutting through the rising tension. "With all due respect, General, your claims are baseless. My mission here was never about conquest or exploitation. It began as a simple reconnaissance effort, but circumstances evolved into something far greater, an opportunity to bridge gaps between our peoples and foster understanding." He gestured toward the holographic display hovering above the center of the room, activating a series of visuals that showcased Earth's achievements in science, art, and diplomacy. "These aren't weapons or tools of domination," he continued. "They're examples of what we can accomplish when we work together. Lysera VII has much to offer us, just as we have much to share with you. Cooperation doesn't weaken us, it strengthens us." Elira chimed in, her tone measured yet impassioned. "For centuries, our ancestors dreamed of connecting with other civilizations. Today, we have the chance to make that dream a reality. Why should fear dictate our choices when hope offers a brighter path?" Despite their compelling arguments, skepticism lingered in the air. Several council members voiced concerns about Earth's track record in interstellar relations, citing past conflicts and broken treaties. Others questioned whether Ryan's personal involvement with Elira clouded his judgment, implying that his proposals stemmed more from emotion than logic. Amid the heated debate, the doors to the hall burst open, and Captain Daxton strode in flanked by his team. Clad in sleek combat gear, they exuded authority and menace. Daxton's sharp gaze swept across the room before settling on Ryan. "Lieutenant Caldwell," he barked, "you are relieved of your duties effective immediately. Your actions have compromised Earth's strategic position, and you will return with us to face review." The room erupted into chaos. Protests rang out from both sides, with some demanding Ryan's arrest while others defended his right to remain. Elira stepped forward, her voice ringing clear and commanding. "This is Lyceran soil, Captain Daxton, and you will show proper decorum. Ryan Caldwell is under my protection, and any decision regarding his fate must be made collectively by this council." Daxton's jaw tightened, but he inclined his head slightly, recognizing the limits of his jurisdiction. "Very well, Your Highness," he replied curtly. "But know this, Earth will not tolerate interference in its affairs. If you persist in obstructing justice, there will be consequences." As tempers flared and alliances shifted, Ryan and Elira exchanged a glance, silently reaffirming their commitment to see this through. They knew the battle was far from over, but they also understood that surrender was not an option. For better or worse, their fates were intertwined, bound by a shared vision of a future where differences became strengths rather than divides. The standoff in the council chamber marked a turning point, forcing Ryan and Elira to confront not only external adversaries but also the internal doubts that lingered between them. As the meeting adjourned in a swirl of unresolved tension, The pair retreated to Alira's private sanctuary, a secluded garden illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent flora. The air was thick with unspoken questions, each carrying the weight of decisions yet to be made. Ryan broke the silence first, his voice tinged with frustration and fatigue. "I never intended for any of this to happen," he admitted, pacing along the iridescent pathways. "Coming here, meeting you, it was all supposed to be straightforward. But now," he trailed off, shaking his head as if trying to piece together fragments of a puzzle too complex to solve. Alira watched him, her expression a blend of empathy and resolve. "Life rarely follows the paths we imagine," she said softly. "But that doesn't mean we're powerless to shape its course. You've shown me that already." Her words carried a quiet strength, yet beneath them lay a vulnerability that mirrored his own. Ryan stopped pacing and turned to face her, his gaze searching hers. "Do you really believe that? After everything, after my mistakes, after Daxton's threats, after Valen's accusations, can you still trust me?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications neither dared to fully articulate. Alira hesitated, her shimmering hands clasped tightly before her. "Trust isn't given lightly among my people," she replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "But I've seen glimpses of who you are beneath the soldier, beneath the titles and obligations. That man, the one who shares stories of Earth's beauty, who laughs with me under the stars, who believes in a future neither of us can fully envision, that's the man I chose to trust." Her confession struck a chord deep within Ryan, stirring emotions he had long suppressed. 4 years, he had lived within the rigid confines of duty, suppressing desires and dreams that didn't align with his responsibilities. Yet here, in this alien garden with a princess who defied every expectation, he found himself questioning the boundaries he had accepted without challenge. Was it possible to reconcile the person he was with the person he wanted to become? Before he could respond, a distant rumble shook the ground beneath their feet, followed by flashes of light illuminating the horizon. Alarmed, they rushed to the edge of the garden, where they witnessed an alarming sight. Ships descending from the sky, their markings unmistakably earthbound. Captain Daxton's reinforcements had arrived, and their presence signaled an escalation neither had anticipated. "We can't outrun them," Ryan muttered, his military instincts kicking in as he assessed the situation. "Not without risking innocent lives." Alira placed a hand on his arm, her touch grounding him even as panic threatened to take hold. "Then we fight," she declared, her voice firm. "Not with weapons, but with truth. If we stand united, if we show them what we're fighting for, perhaps they'll see reason." Ryan nodded, though doubt gnawed at the edges of his resolve. "It's a gamble," he acknowledged, "but it's the only play we've got." Together, they devised a desperate plan, to broadcast their message directly to Earth's leadership, bypassing intermediaries like Daxton and appealing to higher ideals of cooperation and peace. Using Lycerin technology combined with Earth's communication systems, they hoped to create a live transmission that would reach decision-makers back home. As they worked feverishly to prepare, assembling equipment and drafting speeches, Ryan found himself reflecting on the irony of their predicament. Here he was, a soldier trained to follow orders, now orchestrating a rebellion against his own command. And yet, paradoxically, it felt like the most authentic action he had ever taken. For the first time, he wasn't fighting for abstract concepts like duty or honor. He was fighting for something tangible, something worth risking everything for. Hours later, as dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and lavender, Ryan and Alira stood side by side before the makeshift broadcast station. Behind them, a crowd of Lycerins gathered, their shimmering forms glowing with solidarity. Alira spoke first, her words flowing like poetry as she addressed Earth's leaders. "We are not so different, you and I," she began. "We share a desire for progress, for connection, for a future free from fear. Let us build that future together, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals." When Ryan stepped forward, his voice carried the weight of conviction forged in the crucible of recent events. "This isn't about me anymore," he said, his eyes scanning the assembled crowd before focusing on the camera lens. "It's about proving that humanity can rise above its flaws, that we're capable of more than conquest and division. Give us a chance to show you what's possible when we choose understanding over suspicion, partnership over dominance." As the transmission concluded, an eerie calm settled over the scene. The ships hovering above remained motionless, their intentions unclear. Ryan and Illyra exchanged a glance, their hearts pounding in unison as they awaited the response that would determine their fate, and perhaps the fate of two worlds teetering on the brink of transformation. The minutes stretched into hours, each one heavy with anticipation. Ryan and Illyra remained at the heart of the gathering, their resolve unwavering despite the uncertainty that loomed overhead. Around them, the Lycerans stood steadfast, their collective energy pulsing like a living force. The atmosphere was charged, a delicate balance between hope and dread, as if the entire planet held its breath. Finally, movement came from the fleet above. A single ship detached itself from the formation, descending gracefully until it hovered just above the garden. From its belly emerged a shuttle, sleek and unmarked, which landed softly on the grassy terrain. The hatch opened, and out stepped Colonel Harlow himself, flanked by a small contingent of officers. Ryan recognized the hardened look in Harlow's eyes, a mix of authority and calculation, but he also detected something else: curiosity. "Lieutenant Caldwell," Harlow began, his voice carrying the weight of command yet tempered with restraint. "Your actions have caused considerable unrest, both here and on Earth. Explain yourself." Ryan stepped forward, meeting Harlow's gaze without flinching. "Sir, with respect, I acted not out of defiance but necessity. What started as a mission became an opportunity to forge genuine connections, to prove that humanity is capable of more than fear-driven policies. This alliance isn't just about me or Princess Illyra, it's about showing that cooperation can yield results neither side could achieve alone." Harlow studied him for a long moment, then turned his attention to Illyra. "Princess, your reputation precedes you. I must admit, your conviction is compelling. But understand this, Earth's interests are non-negotiable. If we proceed, it must be on terms that safeguard our security and sovereignty." Illyra inclined her head, her composure regal yet approachable. "Colonel Harlow, we seek no dominion over Earth, nor do we wish to impose our values upon you. All we ask is mutual respect and a willingness to learn from one another. Together, we can redefine what it means to coexist in this galaxy." The colonel's expression softened slightly, though his skepticism remained evident. "Ambitious words," he murmured. "But ambition requires proof. Show me something tangible, something that demonstrates the viability of this partnership." Seizing the moment, Ryan gestured toward the assembled crowd. "With your permission, sir, allow us to demonstrate our progress thus far. The Lycerans have developed technologies that could revolutionize Earth's infrastructure. In return, we offer knowledge and resources that could enhance their capabilities. It's a symbiotic relationship, one built on shared goals rather than exploitation." Harlow considered this, exchanging glances with his officers before nodding curtly. "Very well. Lead the way." Over the next several hours, Ryan and Illyra guided Harlow and his team through a series of demonstrations highlighting the potential benefits of their collaboration. They showcased advanced energy solutions, sustainable agricultural techniques, and medical innovations that left the Earth delegation visibly impressed. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Captain Daxton, who had accompanied Harlow, remained conspicuously silent, his sharp eyes observing every interaction with calculated precision. As the tour concluded, Harlow addressed the group once more. "Impressive indeed," he conceded. "But practical applications require time and resources. Are you prepared to invest both, Lieutenant? And are you willing to accept the consequences if this endeavor fails?" Ryan squared his shoulders, his voice steady. "Yes, sir. Whatever it takes." Before Harlow could respond, a sudden commotion erupted from the perimeter of the garden. General Valen appeared, flanked by armed Lyceran guards, his presence radiating hostility. "Enough of this charade," he bellowed, pointing an accusatory finger at Ryan. "Earth seeks to manipulate us, to use our goodwill for their gain. I will not stand idly by while you sell out our future." The tension skyrocketed as Valen's forces moved to surround the delegation. Illyra stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. "Stand down, General. This is not your decision to make. As heir to the throne, I declare this alliance valid and necessary." Valen's face twisted with fury, but before he could retaliate, a brilliant flash of light illuminated the sky. Another ship descended rapidly, this one bearing the insignia of a neutral intergalactic council, a body tasked with mediating disputes among civilizations. Its arrival sent shockwaves through the gathering, shifting the dynamics entirely. From the newly arrived vessel emerged Ambassador Solon, a renowned diplomat known for brokering peace in even the most volatile situations. "Friends," Solon announced, raising a hand to quell the rising chaos, "let us resolve this matter through dialogue rather than conflict. The galaxy watches, and history will judge us by our actions today." With the stage set for negotiations, Ryan and Elira exchanged a glance, their hearts buoyed by the slim hope of resolution. Yet they knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, requiring not only courage but also compromise. As the various factions converged to hash out terms, the fate of their alliance, and perhaps the future of interstellar relations, hung precariously in the balance. In the days following Ambassador Solon's arrival, the negotiations unfolded with painstaking deliberation. Each party brought their grievances, aspirations, and demands to the table, creating a tapestry of competing interests that tested the patience and ingenuity of all involved. Ryan and Elira found themselves at the center of this whirlwind, navigating a labyrinth of political maneuvering and ideological clashes. Their partnership, once defined by personal connection, now bore the weight of representing two vastly different worlds striving for common ground. The discussions were intense, often stretching late into the night. Earth's delegation, led by Colonel Harlow, focused on securing safeguards that would protect their strategic interests while ensuring Lysera 7's advanced technologies didn't fall into hostile hands. General Valen, on the other hand, dug in his heels, arguing vehemently against any concessions that might compromise Lyseran autonomy. His fiery rhetoric frequently clashed with Elira's more conciliatory approach, leading to heated exchanges that sometimes bordered on outright hostility. Through it all, Ryan played the role of mediator, leveraging his dual perspective as both a soldier and an advocate for unity. He worked tirelessly to bridge gaps, translating Earth's concerns into terms the Lyserans could understand and vice versa. Elira supported him, her diplomatic finesse complementing his pragmatic strategies. Together, they crafted proposals that balanced innovation with security, emphasizing shared prosperity over unilateral gains. Yet even as progress inched forward, cracks began to form within the coalition itself. Captain Daxton, ever watchful, seized opportunities to sow discord, subtly undermining Ryan's credibility whenever possible. His veiled insinuations about Ryan's motivations, particularly his relationship with Elira, planted seeds of doubt among Earth's negotiators. Some began questioning whether Ryan's judgment was clouded by emotion, while others speculated about hidden agendas lurking beneath the surface of his proposals. Elira sensed the growing unease and confronted Ryan privately one evening, her shimmering form bathed in the soft glow of the garden's bioluminescent blooms. "They're turning against you," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "Daxton's whispers are taking root, and I fear it's only a matter of time before they fracture the trust we've built." Ryan sighed, leaning against a crystalline pillar as exhaustion washed over him. "I know," he admitted. "But we can't let them win. Not now, when we're so close to something real." He straightened, determination hardening his features. "We need to double down, to show them exactly why this alliance matters, not just for us, but for everyone." Inspired by his resolve, Elira nodded. "Then let's give them something they can't ignore. Something undeniable." Together, they devised a bold gambit, a public demonstration of their combined capabilities, designed to showcase the tangible benefits of collaboration. Utilizing Lyseran technology integrated with Earth's engineering expertise, they constructed a prototype energy grid capable of powering an entire city sustainably. The project required round-the-clock effort, drawing upon the skills of scientists, engineers, and artisans from both worlds. As the final pieces fell into place, anticipation buzzed through the air, mingling with the faint hum of machinery. On the day of the demonstration, representatives from every faction gathered in a vast amphitheater carved into the mountainside. The prototype stood at the center, its sleek design gleaming under the twin suns. Ryan and Elira stood side by side, their presence commanding attention as they addressed the assembly. "This isn't just a machine," Ryan began, his voice resonating across the crowd. "It's proof that our differences can become strengths. By combining our knowledge and resources, we've created something neither of us could have achieved alone." Imagine what else we could accomplish if we commit to working together. Elira stepped forward, her luminous eyes scanning the audience. Let this be a symbol of what's possible when we choose unity over division. We stand before you not as adversaries, but as partners ready to shape a brighter future, for our children, for our peoples, for the galaxy itself. As they activated the prototype, a surge of clean energy illuminated the amphitheater, bathing everyone in a warm, golden light. Gasps of awe rippled through the crowd, replaced quickly by murmurs of excitement and wonder. Even the most skeptical observers couldn't deny the transformative potential of what they were witnessing. But triumph was short-lived. Just as the applause began to swell, a deafening roar split the sky. Overhead. But triumph was short-lived. Just as the applause began to swell, a deafening roar split the sky. Overhead, an enormous alien vessel descended, its shadow blotting out the twin suns. The crowd froze in stunned silence as the ship hovered menacingly above them, its sleek, jagged design marking it as belonging to the Zoran, a ruthless race known for their conquests and exploitation of weaker civilizations. A collective gasp rippled through the amphitheater as a holographic projection appeared at the center of the gathering. It revealed the towering figure of Commander Krylos, leader of the Zoran fleet. His voice boomed with cold authority, cutting through the tension like a blade. "We have observed your attempts at unity," he sneered, his glowing red eyes scanning the assembly. "Such cooperation is intriguing. But it ends now." Ryan instinctively moved closer to Elira, his mind racing. This was the nightmare scenario they had feared, an outside force seeking to exploit their fragile alliance. Before anyone could react, Krylos continued, "Lysera, 7 possesses resources and technology we require. Earth's influence here complicates matters. You will surrender control, or face annihilation." The ultimatum hung heavy in the air, choking off hope. General Valen stepped forward, his face pale but resolute. "This is why I warned against trusting outsiders," he shouted, pointing accusingly at Ryan. "Your presence has brought destruction upon us." "No," Elira countered sharply, stepping into the spotlight. Her shimmering form radiated defiance despite the fear pulsing through her veins. "This isn't about Lieutenant Caldwell or Earth, it's about us. If we falter now, if we give in to fear or division, then the Zoran win without firing a single shot." Ambassador Solon raised a hand, attempting to mediate. "Commander Krylos, there must be another way." "Diplomacy." "Diplomacy is weakness," Krylos interrupted, his tone dripping with disdain. "You have 1 solar cycle to comply. After that—" He let the threat linger before terminating the transmission. Panic erupted among the delegates, voices rising in chaos. Some called for immediate surrender, others demanded retaliation, while many simply looked lost. Amid the turmoil, Ryan locked eyes with Elira. In that moment, they communicated wordlessly, a shared understanding that this crisis would define not only their relationship but the future of both their worlds. "We fight," Ryan said firmly, addressing the crowd. "Not just for ourselves, but for every civilization that dreams of peace. The Zoran thrive on fear and division. We'll show them what happens when unity becomes our greatest weapon." Elira nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Then let's make sure they regret ever threatening us." With renewed determination, Ryan and Elira rallied their allies. They divided responsibilities. Earth's delegation focused on fortifying defenses using Lyceran technology, while Elira worked to unite her people under a common cause. Even General Valem begrudgingly joined the effort, recognizing that survival depended on setting aside past grievances. Captain Daxton initially resisted, still suspicious of Ryan's motives, but eventually relented when Colonel Harlow reminded him of their duty to protect humanity and Earth's reputation. For the first time, all factions stood together, pooling their strengths to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. When the Zoran fleet returned at dawn, they found Lysera 7 transformed. The once idyllic planet was now bristling with energy shields powered by the prototype grid, defensive turrets manned by joint Earth-Lyceran teams, and squadrons of agile fighters patrolling the skies. At the forefront stood Ryan and Elira, side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Krylos wasted no time launching his assault. The battle raged across land, sea, and sky, a dazzling display of advanced weaponry and raw courage. Despite being outnumbered, the defenders held firm, their coordinated efforts turning the tide again and again. Ryan led ground forces with tactical precision, while Illyra commanded aerial units, her leadership inspiring those around her. At the climax of the conflict, Ryan devised a daring plan to infiltrate the Zoran flagship and disable its main reactor. With Illyra covering his back, they breached the enemy vessel, fighting their way through corridors filled with hostile soldiers. When they reached the reactor chamber, Ryan planted explosives, knowing it would destroy the ship, and potentially trap them inside. As the countdown began, Illyra grabbed his hand. "If this is how it ends, then I'm glad I met you," she said softly, tears shimmering in her eyes. Ryan smiled, squeezing her hand tightly. "It's not over yet. Trust me." In a final burst of adrenaline, they fought their way back to the escape pods just as the reactor exploded, engulfing the Zoran flagship in a blinding flash of light. The remaining fleet, thrown into disarray, retreated into deep space, leaving Lysera 7 victorious. Back on the surface, cheers erupted as survivors celebrated their hard-won freedom. Ryan and Illyra embraced amidst the jubilation, their bond stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, formal treaties were signed, cementing the alliance between Earth and Lysera 7. General Valen, humbled by the experience, became an advocate for cooperation, while Captain Daxton earned grudging respect for his contributions during the battle. As for Ryan and Illyra, their love story inspired legends across the galaxy. Together, they forged a new path, one where differences weren't barriers but bridges, where trust and understanding transcended borders. And though challenges lay ahead, they faced them hand in hand, proving that even in the vastness of the cosmos, connection was the most powerful force of all. In the end, their journey wasn't just about saving two worlds, it was about showing the universe that hope, courage, and unity could overcome even the darkest threats. Underneath the twin suns of Lysera 7, a brighter future dawned, written in the stars by two hearts who dared to dream beyond the limits of their own horizons.